Oh, see, they're on it.
Oh, no.
Musical
Really?
chairs going on.
I'm calling it to order.
Thank you.
Somebody's messing with their chair.
Yeah, this one for the last 9 years. So.
See, I don't even know what's in the back of mine. I know.
Someday.
2, 1.
Good morning. Today is Wednesday, August 17th, 2016. It is 9:30 in the morning, and we are going to call the regular meeting for the Ottawa City Commission to order. We'll begin with roll call, please.
Mayor Kaler,
Present.
Commissioner Reed,
Present.
Commissioner Graves,
Present.
Commissioner Jorgensen,
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore,
Present.
We're all here and accounted for, and we have been joined with a nice group here today, and I know that we have been joined with individuals who are on the radio and who are watching on the Ottawa, Kansas website. You may be watching this after this meeting's over, so if you are, thank you for tuning in. We are going to begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, as we do every single meeting, followed by the invocation that will be led by Pastor Bruce Beatty from the Ottawa Church of the Nazarene. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank the Commission and the City for the opportunity to be able to come and offer this invocation. It is a privilege, I think, for pastors to be involved in this process, and thank you for that invitation. Let's bow our hearts. Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us, and we've come to a business day in the city of Ottawa, and we would ask that you would just bestow your grace upon each and every one of these here, to our leaders, elected and those that are hired, to make Ottawa the best place to live. And we thank you for their work, for their commitment, and for their families. We'd ask that you would help them in their decisions. Sometimes they're difficult, and sometimes they have to be no, and it gets difficult, and then public opinion weighs into it. So, Lord, I would ask that you would gird them up as they honor their responsibility, as they offer their opinion and their commitment, and also their values. They are important to all of us, and we thank you for them. I would ask that you would help us as citizens to be in support of these and be active in the work that is going on in our community. September is going to be a busy month with a lot of activities that will kind of showcase the city of Ottawa, and would ask that everything would fall together and we would be able to put our best foot forward for all those that will be coming into the city to visit. School, if it hasn't started for some, will be starting here this week, and we would ask that you would be with our school district, for the teachers, for all the staff, and everyone that will be caring for and teaching and watching over our children and our teenagers. Lord, bless this day, and help us each to do our part in making Ottawa the best place to live. We ask these in your precious Son's name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Beatty. We appreciate it. That moves us on to the consent agenda, which includes minutes from the July 25th, 2016, August 1st, 2016, August 8th, 2016 study session, the August 1st special call for the leadership session, and August 3rd regular meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, I so move.
Commissioner Skidmore makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Graves. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That moves us on to the regular agenda, which includes public comment. Persons who wish to address the City Commission regarding items on the agenda may do so as that item is called. Persons who wish to address the City Commission regarding items not on the agenda and that are under the jurisdiction of the City Commission may do so at the time when called upon by the mayor. Comments on personnel matters and matters pending in court or other outside tribunals are not permitted. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and any presentation is for information purposes only. No action will be taken. We have an individual who is asked to speak with us today, Mr. Whitmore with Mid-American Nutrition, would like to come up and talk about the good things happening at Mid-American Nutrition. So welcome.
I want to thank you for allowing me to speak today in front of the commission. I'm new to the Ottawa community. My wife and I moved here in July. We bought a home. We're planning on staying here, and I've gotten a job with the Mid-American Nutrition Program. I'm the Washburn Tire site manager, and I'm also going to be the outreach and fundraising coordinator for Mid-American Nutrition. I come this morning just for some information for people to get the name of Meals on Wheels back out there again. I'm not asking for anything today other than some volunteers. If you want to do it, we deliver about 85 to 90 meals a day. I run 40 routes a week, so that means I have 40 drivers. It takes about an hour of your time. And I'm trying to make sure that nobody in the city of Ottawa in the senior sector goes hungry. We deliver on average probably 5,000 meals a month, so it's a great program. It's a 6-county area. I'm eventually going to work with all of the other sites, but at this point I'm trying to get to know Ottawa. The one thing I want to leave you with, I have left the clerk some information about our program, a little bit of information about me and what I'm looking for. What I would ask of the commission is, if you get a chance, come eat with us. Come visit with the people. It costs $5.75. Let me know the day before. They would enjoy seeing you. They really would. If there's any type of questions you want to ask people in that group, that's a great place to come and talk to them. So I do appreciate you letting me speak today, and thank you, and I'll probably be back again to talk with you.
Mr. Whitmore, is the public invited to eat lunch?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And how would they contact you if they were interested in doing that?
I left a handout. Our number is 785 and 521-8130.
Okay.
That's a cell number that I carry with me all the time.
Okay.
We will have, hopefully, web coverage at some point in time with new computers at our facilities, which you could hopefully do that. We need to know the day before if you want to come. It's really a good meal, not too much to eat, not balanced nutrition-wise, so you don't have to worry about spoiling your diets if you eat with us.
Great. Well, we invite the public to do so. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Next, I move us on to declaration. At this time, I'd like to give commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they might have that would influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Commissioners? Seeing none, we will move forward. Under new business.
Proclamation recognizing Ottawa Church of the Nazarene.
This proclamation recognizes the Ottawa Church of the Nazarene on their 100th anniversary. Pastor Bruce Beatty and members of the congregation will accept the proclamation. And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas August 21st, 2016 marks the 100th anniversary of the Ottawa Church of the Nazarene, and whereas in August 1916 the church was organized as the Holiness Church after a 3-week revival meeting, and whereas meetings are held in several locations before settling at the current location at 7th and Elm Streets in a tent, then a chapel, then a church building, then a reconstructed building in 2003. And whereas several members of this congregation have been public figures of the community, including Ruby Stanford, clerk of the Franklin County District Court from 1971 to 1983, and Jeff Richards, former city commissioner and current Franklin County sheriff. And whereas Ottawa Church of the Nazarene has played an integral part in the community by way of participation, prayer, preaching, musical productions, etc. And whereas Ottawa Church of the Nazarene continues to uphold their holiness belief as a church body, and whereas, And now therefore, I was used to the whereas, and now therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa does hereby congratulate and commend the Ottawa Church of the Nazarene on its 100th anniversary and encourages its citizens to join in their celebration. Signed this on the 17th day of August 2016 by the mayor. Pastor Beatty, would you like to come up and get this from me?
Can the others that are here from the church come up?
Absolutely, we would love that. Please come up. We're going to look to this side so we can get a picture commencing this event in this great 100 years. Excellent. And we're going to give you the podium and let you speak, but we're going to have you go back and use the microphone so we can make sure everybody can hear you.
Well, it's quite an honor to be able to receive this and to be a part of the church that's been around for 100 years. The challenge that I see for us is, can we be around for another 100? I won't be here to celebrate it, but hopefully the church is still here. I think we have a great mission for the work within the community and the Lord's work in general to reach into the lives that matter most to Him, and that's each and every one of us. I'd like to extend an invitation, if you're not busy Sunday, to come by. If you have your regular services, I understand, but we will have a slideshow and some presentations of all the things that's kind of gone on over the last 100 years after lunch. So if your services are done, you can come by afterwards and take a look at some of the slides and meet some of the people. And it would be a great time to have you there. So appreciate it. Thank you very much for this proclamation, and we'll hang it up with pride. Thank you.
Pastor Beatty, tell us who you brought with you today.
Well, we have Jim and Joyce Van Heusen and Jan Smith. Jan has been active in organizing our 100th anniversary. He's done a lot of legwork and done more than probably a lot of us realize. Jim and Joyce serve as board members, and Jim was our past board secretary. And so they're both very active in the work of the church. And I appreciate each and every one of them.
So you brought all three J's, Jim, Joyce, and Jan?
Okay.
Okay.
Put a B in there and a B triple J or something. So, but anyway, yes, they came and wanted to be a part of this.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad they're here, and I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you. What time would your celebration be at your service?
Service starts at 10.
Okay.
And of course, that will be recognizing former pastors, and we'll have some district and general church leaders there. And then roughly, if the schedule holds, about noontime, we'll have a break for a light lunch. And then after that, we will start in slide presentations of kind of showing the history and some of the events and activities that our people have been involved with throughout the years.
Right. Perfect.
So, okay.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you very
Yes.
much. We appreciate it.
Next on to number 11 on the new business.
Introduction of new employees.
We will have an introduction of Lydia Sierra, the Finance Department, and Joe Carrier and Adam Seiler of the Ottawa Police Department. We'll have Scott Bird and Chief Dennis Butler come up to introduce their new employees.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's always a pleasure to introduce our new employees.
Absolutely.
And when I say new, this one is, Lydia's not brand new. She's been with us just almost exactly a year. And it's a pleasure to introduce Lydia Sierra to you this morning. Lydia was born in Pueblo, Colorado, raised in Liberal, Kansas. She has a brother who is 2 years younger than she is. She graduated from Liberal High School and would like to continue her education once she has her children raised. She has 3 children, Joel, who is 19 and graduated from OHS in 2015. And he works at American Eagle. Antonio, who is 15, a sophomore at OHS, and Aiden, who is 13 and is in the 8th grade at OMS. She's lived in Ottawa since 2000, and before coming to work for the City of Ottawa, she spent almost 15 years working at the Lawrence Dillons as their bookkeeper and their customer service specialist. And when I say customer service specialist, she fits that mold. She is one of the first faces that most people see when they come to City Hall, and she handles people extremely well. I'm very pleased to have her on her staff. Prior to working for Dillon, she worked at Citizen State Bank in Liberal, Kansas as a returns clerk. She enjoys spending time with her boys, visiting with her family, and liberal, and going on trips to see new and exciting things. She also enjoys baking, cooking, and reading, and I can attest to her baking and cooking. She's been with the city, as I said, right now just almost exactly a year, was recently upgraded from Clerk 1 to Clerk 2. She does an absolutely fantastic job working with our customers, and I'm pleased to introduce to you Lydia Sierra.
Lydia, welcome.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to work for the city. I enjoy working with everybody.
We appreciate your smiling face. Next, Chief Butler will come forward.
Good morning, Mayor Kaler and members of the City Commission. I'd like to introduce to you Officer Joe Carrier. Officer Carrier started with the Ottawa Police Department on August 19th, 2015, so he too's been here about a year. He's 36 years old, and his wife Marty works for the Olathe Police Department. Joe has 3 daughters, Kaylin, Hannah, and Chloe. Officer Carrier grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana, and Wichita, Kansas, and then moved to the Kansas City area for college. In 2003, he joined the U.S. Army, where he served as a combat medic, chemical officer, and then as a psychological operations detachment commander. That's a mouthful. Officer Carrier deployed 3 times, twice to Baghdad, Iraq, and once to Bagram, Afghanistan. While in the military, he completed a Bachelor of Arts in Pastoral Studies, the U.S. Army Military Police Captain's Career Course, and in 2009 completed a Master of Criminal Justice degree from Boston University. Officer Carrier is a working group member of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Behavioral, Informatics, and Technology Working Group at the FBI-NA. Before leaving the Army, he last served as the Assistant Professor of Military Science at the University of Kansas and has taught criminal justice and terrorism courses for Central Texas College. Joe volunteers at Community Living Opportunities Midnight Farm Therapeutic Horseback Riding Program, and with both the Patriot Guard Riders and Blue Knights Law Enforcement Motorcycle Clubs. His hobbies include fishing, kayaking, motorcycling, shooting, and of course horseback riding and reading. Officer Carrier's future goals include serving as a narcotics detective and the completion of his Ph.D. in clinical psychology with a postdoctorate study in forensic science. He didn't add this to his biography when I asked for it, but I wanted to also let you know that he graduated first in his police academy class at KLETC and was elected by his fellow students as their class president. Please join me in welcoming Officer Carrier. Thank you, Chief, and thank you, City of Ottawa. First for the employment. It was a fantastic transition out of the Army service straight into this position. It took a huge burden off my shoulders and my family to be welcomed by the city so vigorously from everybody that I met. So first and foremost, thank you. It's meant a lot to us. I've enjoyed my first year in the city, and I look forward to many years to follow.
Well, welcome. We're glad to have you here. And you don't recognize any of our faces, right? Yes, that's good. Yeah. Good. That's good. That's very, very good. Well, welcome. Seriously.
Thank you.
All joking aside, we appreciate you being here.
Well, with his background in psychological ops, be careful if he asks you a question, because I'm sure there's a different motive for what he's trying to find out. I didn't know until just before the meeting that Officer Seiler wouldn't be here, but if you'll indulge me, I'd like to tell you a little bit about him, and I'll try to get him here at a future meeting. Adam Seiler is 22 years old and was born at KU Med. He currently resides in Princeton, Kansas with his 3-year-old son and his mother. Adam has lived in Princeton his entire life, graduating from Central Heights High School in Richmond, Kansas, where he attended K through 12. More recently, he earned a bachelor's degree in human services from Ottawa University, and prior to that, graduated from Neosho County Community College with an associate's degree in associates in science with an emphasis in criminal justice. Officer Seiler previously worked at the Ottawa BP gas station while he was going to college, and for the noxious weed department for Franklin County. And again, he'll be going to the academy in a couple of weeks, but if I can get him here at some point in the near future, I will. So I apologize for his absence this morning.
We appreciate that Adam's homegrown, and we're glad that he is.
I was very, very excited. Not that I'm not excited about
Right.
Officer Carrier,
Right.
but it's always a goal of ours to try to hire residents from Franklin County who have roots here and who we think will be a good addition to our department, and we think Adam fits the bill.
I would agree.
Thank you.
Thank you for your introductions. That moves us on to number 12 on the agenda.
Request for approval of ordinance authorizing and providing for acquisition of land by condemnation.
This condemnation is for the property at 415 East 15th Street to allow for sidewalk improvements. I believe City Attorney Finch will be addressing this particular matter.
Commissioners, it's really not much more complicated than that. The sidewalk project that the city is working on East 15th requires that we obtain easements, both permanent easements for the sidewalk itself and temporary construction easements for the ground that we'll be disturbing to build the sidewalk. This is a property that appears to be vacant. We've had no luck getting a hold of the owner, and so we've had to proceed with condemnation. We would let anyone know in that area that if they get a message from the city, we are trying to reach them, that we are trying to obtain those easements so we can add sidewalks in that area and make the neighborhood improved and provide pedestrian pathways for young and old alike to get around the city. So we hope that they will respond, and we can avoid having to do condemnations. That's really the last resort.
City Attorney Finch, this is very, if the citizens for the first time hearing about this, is very similar to what we did on the west side of 15th Street, where there'll be sidewalks that connect the community. Is that correct?
And the Community Development Director, Wendy Lee, would be the one to speak to the actual nature of the project, but it is my understanding it's very similar, and what we're trying to do, again, is to create that network for pedestrian pathways around the city. I guarantee you there's no one living on that area that has not heard from us. By lack of effort, we've sent out letters and tried to communicate. We're down to the last 2 or 3 that, sometimes people pass away and you're dealing with an estate. Sometimes people move away, and so that's what we're trying to deal with now, is the wrapping up the last several properties that we cannot find and get a hold of the owners.
And just to clarify for our listeners, it's just the easement, it's not the entire property.
That's right. This is just the easement to put in a sidewalk. We have no interest in condemning anything more than that.
Okay. And Mrs. Lee, would you address this, this is not necessarily this request, but would you address what this project is actually encompasses?
Sure. As folks know, when we worked on West 15th, we went from the trail all the way over to Eisenhower. This project starts at Main Street on the south side, where there's no sidewalk. On the north side at Walgreens, there is a little bit of a sidewalk. But then as you progress east, that sidewalk terminates. And so then this project would build sidewalk all the way to the bridge, all the way to Mulberry, both sides of the street, along with bike lanes. It also has a turn lane at Cedar, which has been a long kind of request of the community.
Yeah.
And then from Mulberry going east, it's one side. It's on the north side to match up with where the bridge sidewalk is, and then gets it about to Rockwood. And then we hope to eventually come back and connect and go up Lincoln and do some other projects. But this is very similar to what we saw on the west side. Unfortunately, in this case, we have 2 properties now that we're down to, this one and one other that the owners have passed away, and there's not been any estate work that we can find so far. And so we're having to take an unusual action as pushing the project back, but we're really thrilled that all the rest of the property owners did sign their easements, both permanent and not. I would say, though, this action is about the easements for the sidewalk, but we've had a number of concerns raised about the property. The city's been in contact, well, the city's been unable to contact people here for years and have been mowing and maintaining that way. It probably will ultimately result in the other kind of condemnation that we work on if we're not able to find somebody to be responsible for the property. So I don't want the neighbors who've expressed concern to think we aren't fully aware of that. We are. This is just 2 different kinds of needs at this point. So,
If we move forward with this particular request, when should the community see action on this?
the project won't start now until the spring. The bid let's been put back to December because we've been unable to acquire these last things. It is fully designed and it's been approved and it's ready. As soon as we get the last 2 easements, then it'll be able to proceed to the bid letting. But based on the time of the year, we don't expect work until either very, very late winter or early spring. And there would be more information put out at that time that they're starting, and they would be in contact with the homeowners then about the work that's going to go on. Because all throughout this, it's not just the sidewalk, it disrupts their driveways. So.
Madam Mayor, just to follow up on that, what this ordinance does is directs me on your behalf to go to court and institute a proceeding to have the court condemn this easement across this property for the purpose of sidewalk construction. It is a long and time-consuming and somewhat difficult process to condemn property, and it should be. It should not be easy for the government to condemn private property for a purpose. And so, just so you understand, and we have the two now, as Director Lee mentioned. We'll have to do a resolution, an ordinance, we'll have to go to court, file a petition, we'll have to publish notice, we'll have to go through the process and jump through all the hoops with the court to get an order from the court. And then and only then, can we say, okay, we have the proper easements to go forward. So there really is an intensive search that we'll have to do to try to find someone who will claim ownership and come in and work with us, or if not, the court will enter that judgment. So lest anyone think this is easy or that we just snap our fingers and condemn property, that's not this Commission's policy and certainly not the city's desire. We'd much rather work cooperatively, and many of the property owners along that path have been compensated for the easements that they've provided. Some have chosen to donate, but for the most part, and the same with these two properties, if we had owners willing to work with us, we would be talking with them about possible compensation for their easements.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions about this particular item? If not, I will entertain a motion if there is one.
Madam Mayor.
Commissioner?
In the interest of continuing the ribs to our spine of the rail trail or pedestrian-friendly community, I move to approve the request as described in item 12 of the agenda.
Commissioner Jorgensen makes a motion to approve the request. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the ordinance and authorizing and providing the for acquisition of land by condemnation at 415 East 15th Street. Is there any discussion among commissioners? If not, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes. Motion carries. That moves us on to item 13 on the agenda.
Request for approval of ordinance revising Uniform Public Offense Code.
Revision to section 10.6 air gun, air rifle, bow and arrow, slingshot, BB gun, or paintball gun. I believe that Chief Butler will address the UPOC.
Yes, Mayor Kaler, this is part of the annual adoption of both the Uniform Public Offense Code and in the next item, the Standard Traffic Ordinance. The language that you just described was language that previously existed for many years in the municipal ordinance, granting authority to the chief of police to approve requests to engage in archery activities outdoors. And there's a couple of annual events that are affected by this each year, and we discovered after the UPOC was adopted last year that language was omitted unintentionally. So we are requesting that it be reinserted for members of the public who might be interested. This is not an issue that we take lightly at the police department when someone wants to shoot a projectile of any kind outside. So when applications are made to me, we go out and inspect the area. We ensure that the proper safety precautions are taken, that the people in charge of it are always there when the activities occur. That authorization can be rescinded at any time. And so we think it's important that when citizens are acting responsibly and want to do this, that authority be there for us to be able to approve it. Also in the UPOC, and you didn't mention this, there are a couple of other items in there that might be of interest to the public. If you would like, I will just tell them a little bit about it. One is that a law was enacted July 1st that grants an immunity from prosecution to individuals who report the underage consumption of alcohol of others. And the immunity from prosecution pertains to if the person calling is also in violation of underage consumption laws. The idea being that if someone is in medical distress who has had too much to drink, that those that are with him or her would not be afraid to contact law enforcement or EMS to come to their aid for fear that they too would be arrested. I think it is a very good addition to the statute, and hopefully we won't need it very often, but it's there. The second thing would be theft is a crime. It's always been a crime. For felony theft in Kansas, however, the threshold for it to become a felony has risen from the value of $1,000, which is what it has been for several years, to $1,500. What that means is if a theft is reported and the value of the goods or services is less than $1,500, it's considered a misdemeanor. If it's $1,500 or more, it's considered a felony. So it's an increase of $500 threshold. The last thing is, no, that was it, because the 10.6 was the other one. So those are the things that I think the citizens would be interested in knowing more about. Do you have any questions?
Commissioners, questions for Chief Butler? I would entertain a motion if there is one.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I move that we approve the ordinance revising Uniform Public Offense Code.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the ordinance revising the Uniform Public Offense Code, the UPOC. Any discussion among commissioners?
Can I ask for a point of order? And I may be mistaken, but do we not need to adopt the 2016 UPOC with that revision? Isn't that what we're really trying to do here? Okay, so it's the motion should be to adopt the 2016 UPOC with revisions as recommended.
Commissioner Graves, would you like to make that?
Yes, what he said.
Would you like to second that with that amendment?
Yes, second the same way.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Thank you, Mr. Byrd, for pointing that out to us. Is there discussion among commissioners?
I just want to point something out, Chief. You brought up at the study session. These weapons we're talking about are much more advanced than they were when I was younger. I mean, back when we had the Opie Taylor slingshot, that was quite a bit different from the, I think Commissioner Jorgensen called them a
Wrist rocket.
Wrist rocket, yeah, a little bit different kind of thing there, along with bows and arrows and everything else we had as kids. So it's a very different kind of environment with the advanced technology for these, I would call them weapons. But anyway, just make that clarification for the people.
Yeah, that is correct. If I could add one other comment, there have been occasions where we get reports of someone in their backyard using a BB gun or a bow and arrow, and that is a violation of the ordinance. It's not something that if I were asked to approve, I would approve. So it's important to know that these are for basically demonstrations, or in the case of Ottawa University, they have an archery club. And they were one of the first ones that made an application to me, and we wanted to be able to let their archery team be able to practice and hold competitions. So it's not something that I normally get as far as a request, and there's very few instances in which it will be approved unless it's for something like that.
Well, and I'm really glad that's being brought to light. I know that it certainly informed me, having Girl Scouts in my family, and they have, we own bows and arrows at our house, and so that's something that we'll be addressing as a family. So, and I'm sure many families will too.
Yeah, thank you.
So, commissioners, any other discussion? Then I will call for the vote, please.
How do you vote? Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes. Motion carries. That moves us on to item 14.
Request for approval of ordinance revising the 2016 standard traffic ordinance.
Staff recommends approval of the revisions to the ordinance as outlined in the memo, and I believe the memo is in our study session packet, but I believe that Chief Butler will be outlining that for us too.
Yes, again, I'm going to highlight what I think is of most interest to the public. You have all of the details, but in the most recent legislative session, there was a major section, well, actually there were several sections on the same topic, eliminating the penalty for motorists who refuse to submit to a breath test by a police officer when they've been stopped for suspicion of driving under the influence. What that means is if a motorist refuses that request, the officer now would be required to obtain a search warrant to obtain a sample of their blood for further investigation. In the past, the officer was able to charge them with refusal, and there would be other potential administrative sanctions for refusing the test. So that has been stricken. It was stricken because of a Supreme Court decision in Kansas. My understanding is that the next legislature in January, will be revisiting this issue to see if they can pass a statute that would address this and return the refusal to the law books as a violation.
Commissioners, any questions for Chief Butler? If not, I would entertain a motion if there is one.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I would move that we approve the 2016 Standard Traffic Ordinance.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the ordinance revising the 2016 Standard Traffic Ordinance. Is there any discussion among commissioners? Seeing none, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes. Motion carries. That moves us on to report by the city manager.
So I want to prove to you I can walk again, no crutches.
We're so glad for that.
Almost functional. I have three things. First thing is those fresh flowers that you have at your podium
Gorgeous.
are courtesy of Price Chopper. So
They're gorgeous.
they're beautiful. The other thing is on Monday, especially for our citizens that are watching us, we start live streaming of your work session. And this is an effort for all of us that are in the business of government and serving our citizens to try and get that information out there in a different mode than what we're used to. Try to be more transparent. So just pretend that's not there. The community will have another opportunity, another chance to see the business that you do and to hopefully on important issues that they want to comment on or they want to weigh in on, that they will use that. That will be an opportunity that they can contact you or contact us at City Hall. And finally, Thursday night, we've sent out a news release. Thursday night at 6 o'clock, we're going to start spraying for mosquitoes. And I think you know, I don't come to this lightly. I personally don't like laying down chemicals that our children play in that we breathe. But this is a health concern issue. And for the last couple of weeks, Public Works Director Hafley and his staff have talked to Midge Ransom. They've talked to KDHE. They've got information off of CDC, the Center for Disease Control, about spraying for mosquitoes. And we fortunately have a sprayer, and our staff has ordered the chemical and will start. And there was a news release in the paper about how they're going to do this on Thursday evening. And what I would remind our citizens is to go to our website, go to ottawaks.gov. There's information on our, not only there, but also on our Facebook page. There should be a handout there from CDC and our IT department. State of Kansas did not have a public information spot, but we borrowed one from Florida that's kind of informative. And we've also tried to put information out there that probably the most important thing, that where you live at, where we all live at, is to get rid of the standing water on our own property that we have under our control, because that's where mosquitoes breed. So we will start spraying Thursday at 6 o'clock. We'll do the whole town, and then we'll reassess that several weeks later as to the effectiveness of that, and if we need to do another spraying. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, we will move on to city commissioner reports. We will begin with Commissioner Jorgensen.
I have no report.
We'll move on to Mayor Pro Tem Reed.
Well, as we wrote another gigantic check to Kansas State University this week, I'm reminded that most of the schools are in session this week, and I know we are very, very proud of the schools, public and private, here in our community, and I just want to wish everyone, their families, as they've sent kids off to school and as they send kids off to school this week, wish everybody the best blessings with those first days in school.
Absolutely. Commissioner Skidmore.
Well, I just want to say I'm glad we are spraying for these mosquitoes. Besides the Zika virus, I think Commissioner Reed brought up West Nile as a possible issue as well. So I just want to say I'm glad we're being proactive rather than reactive. And also, just advise everyone, after a rain, it's a good idea just to walk around your yard. I was surprised. I usually do that, and I'll find something, a trash can lid that's upside down and collecting water, or whatever it might be. Just walk around your yard once after a rain, and empty any standing water, and if everybody does that, I think we'll be able to control this problem.
Commissioner Graves?
I don't have a report at this time.
Okay. That moves on to a report by the mayor. And I want to begin by reading a lovely letter that we actually received from the Wyandotte County Unified Government just this week. And it begins with, Dear Mayor Kaler, on behalf of Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas, I want to express my sincere apologies for appreciation for the contributions your police department made to made so that our community could prepare and conduct Captain Robert Melton's July 23rd funeral. Sadly, Captain Melton's death marked the second time in 2 months that our police department lost an officer in the line of duty. As so did many respond to Detective Brad Lancaster's death. Your city stepped up when our community, our police, and our families were grieving. For that, I am very grateful. The time your officers gave was a touching reminder that our broader community does not recognize traditional borders when it comes to supporting one another in the wake of tragedy. Please share this with everyone in your police department who gave their time that day, and know that Kansas City, Kansas and Wyandotte County stand ready to help you should your need ever arise. Gratefully, Mayor Mark Holland. I do want to send out a complete thank you to our police department for helping, and for everyone for helping. I know that our police department and our fire department have been maybe busier than normal in the last few months, and although we're sorry for that, we're certainly glad that you're here to help. So thank you, and please send that thanks to your staffs. We appreciate it, and others appreciate it too. I do want to welcome Ottawa University students who are coming in today, so it's a busy day for Ottawa University. And remember that if you see somebody that maybe you haven't seen in town before, they may be brand new to our community. So let's welcome them, and let's welcome them just like they're part of our family. We have the opportunity to showcase our community, but we're also showing possibly future citizens how wonderful Ottawa can be. And that can start with just a smile, or just welcome to Ottawa, or just a hello to help them feel welcome. Many of these kids, as many of our commissioners can attest, they are kids. They're 18 years old and they're learning, and we help set the pace for them. So please welcome Ottawa University students. Likewise, USD 290 sends back their students to school tomorrow, and for some of them on Friday. And so, as I have said before, students aren't looking out for you drivers, please look out for them. They are talking to their friends, they're excited about their new school year, so let's help welcome them and have their eyes and ears seniors open and watching for kids who are starting off on their new school year. I have announcements to read to you. Today, we actually welcome our new education and healthcare individuals at a luncheon at 11:45 at Garfield Elementary. On August 22nd, we have a study session which will be on Facebook Live, correct, City Manager Neinstead? Our study session? Yes. So if an individual wants to actually be a part of or visually see what we're doing in our study session, they would go to Facebook,
Yes,
and that will be on our page, correct?
yes.
Okay, good, that's what I thought.
confirmed with our IT personnel.
Good, and we appreciate our IT professionals putting that together. So if you don't like the City of Ottawa's page on Facebook, please do so now.
Right.
And then our meeting is our study session, and this is the first time we've ever done this. It's 4 p.m. on Monday, so if you're sitting at your desk and you want to know what your city commission is doing, you can get on Facebook, Facebook Live, and be able to see what we're doing at our city commission meeting, our study session.
It will be historic.
It will be historic. But we've oftentimes talked about the importance of the study session at the city commission level, and that is really the opportunity in which that we take a very deep dive into every single item that appears on our agenda here at this meeting. So if you wonder why when we come to these meetings we have very little conversation, that's because we've taken an extreme deep dive at our study session and talked about every single topic, almost ad nauseum sometimes. So we will have that opportunity, and we want you to be a part of that. So Facebook Live at 4 p.m. on the 22nd. We will also have a leadership session at 5 p.m. on the 22nd, and on the 23rd, we welcome back Ottawa University students for Fusion, where we close off a 300 block of Main Street from 6 to 8 p.m. We invite the public to come out and welcome individuals from OU who are back, and some of them who are here for the very first time. With all of that said, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.